What began as turf gang in the Chicago streets intensely grew into one of the most well-known and hated by many groups of civil disobedience that built a nationwide grassroots movement within the U.S. barriers to unite Puerto Ricans and other Latinos, and to carry out its mission to free Puerto Rico overall. The Young Lords began setting up a formal organizational structure similar to that of the Black Panthers party structure, and began to conduct political educational classes in homes. Their mission was to help the community from the oppressive government they witnessed, and did so in ways that has not been seen in the past. Their methods of protesting, which included breaking the law, was seen by many as unfitting and damaging. Regardless, they helped their community, otherwise known as El Barrio, with healthcare and justice.
They engaged in protests that were savvy, strategic, that involved the community. They occupied Lincoln Hospital right here in the Bronx. They engaged in protests around issues of public health. They burned garbage in East Harlem to protest poor sanitation services there. And they won tremendous reforms.
They revolutionized civil disobedience by sit-ins, marches, and even took it as far as stealing governmental vehicles for the community. Mikey begins his memoir, We Took the Streets, by addressing the assassination of David Sanes Rodriguez, in which he felt angered. The injustice flashbacked his beginnings as one of the founders of the Young Lords, and recalled everything he did to make a change. Born and raised in New York, Melendez was raised in a Catholic home in which his values enlisted that of typical Latino cultures. As he grew, he noticed the racism encountered in the daily life that would further his drive to oppress the oppressor. He had the opportunity to go to college, in which the radicalization of his activism began. In 1968, Melendez was a college student who was developing pride in his Cuban and Puerto Rican cultural identity. He became increasingly aware of the effects of social inequality on Latino Americans and their community. They further wanted to bring awareness to the situation in Puerto Rico and the democratic ruling from the U.S. With like-minded individuals, the establishment of the Young Lords began. Their first big accomplishment was getting the local government to address the garbage situation in the barrio by burning the garbage as a part of the protest. This ignited the group's idea of taking matter into their own hands if needed. They helped the community in such ways that, in addition to running clothing drives, daycare centers, and food and health programs, they became known for their media-savvy tactics and bold actions, like the takeover of the First People's Church and the Lincoln Hospital. This group ended in its disenfranchisement in the 80s, but not before becoming one of the most impactful groups to have ever been created. Like the Black Panthers, their means were rule-breaking, but with the best intentions.
We were at war with the U.S. government, and you brought it down, and we were, at war with the city government. With all our bravado, being 18 and 22 years old, we thought that we were going to change things overnight.
This insightful book addresses the humble beginnings of Melendez, along with some of his failures and his successes. We learn about his work with the Young Lords, but ultimately learn about his life as a child, a traumatic event that shaped his view on power, and how becoming part of the Young Lords gave him the opportunity to help make a change. After the Young Lords, Melendez decides to pursue a higher education, but with the death of David Sanes, he realizes that the fight has not stopped. The Young Lords' approach was rather radicalized than peaceful, and this in itself was used to resolve the situations he faced, from personal to political. This is evident in many cultures and in history, where people decide that quiet protests are inefficient and action is necessary. In this situation, I would have reacted the same, for I see myself as rather a radicalized person than a pacifist. Even though I am not of Puerto Rico descent, I am a Latina that has seen how, even today, low-income communities do not receive the attention others do. It is easy to see how grateful he is to have continued school, or repents about turning a blind eye to his biggest passion. He ends his book with a very strong quote, in which he says he has been sleeping with his eyes open. The rhetoric behind the simple statement addresses his lack of activism for years, and how social inequality continues to perpetuate our communities. This book is a great read, and it does give us an inside view on the thought process, the amount of work it took to create and execute their work, and how much change this group made. Although not many agree with the way they approach things, I do agree that when people don't listen, you have to make them listen.